Now the author of the New York Times bestseller, Fleeced, former Clinton advisor Dick Morris. Dick, anything changed the game here tonight?
No, I don't think there was anything that changed it, which meant that McCain tried and failed to do that. I think McCain did better than Obama, but I don't think he did better in any significant way of actually changing the debate. But the one thing that I would criticize McCain for is that he did not bring up the issue of Ayers. I heard what you and the last guest discussed, and I think that you're missing the point, Alan, when you speak of guilt by association. When that was all it was a few months ago, a few weeks ago, I didn't join in that attack. I tended to stay away from that. That they served on the same board, shared the platform, he had a party at the House. I don't care about that. But the fact is that Ayers has had this philosophy that the goal of education was to radicalize students politically. He got $50 million to do that, and he put Obama in charge of giving out the money. And then for 5 years, Obama pursued that agenda by giving out money to some of the most radical groups in the United States. That information did not come out until Thursday of last week. And when it came out, it made me change my mind that it was not just guilt by association, but it was an actual policy that I felt Obama embraced and shouldn't have.
Dick, I've not heard exactly how students were allegedly radicalized. I've not heard what policy positions does Obama have that reflect the policies of Bill Ayers. What Bill Ayers believes that would inform an Obama presidency. That case has not been made, so I don't think people are tuning into this.
Let me point that out to you. I read the University of Illinois documents, all hundreds of pages of it. Ayers said that he believed that the purpose of education should not be necessarily reading scores and math and science and all that, but should be to raise the consciousness of students and radicalize them politically. That phrase, radicalize them politically, is Ayers' phrase, not mine. He put that on a grant application, and somehow he got $50 million for it. He then put Obama in charge of giving the money not to schools, but to outside community groups, specifically ACORN, which is a very radical group, way to the left of Clinton in Arkansas. They're originally an Arkansas group, but I saw how radical they were. They got the money, and then they paired them with public schools. Now, you're talking about a guy who's going to be giving away $100 billion in federal education money. And I think it is and cites that as his third priority. I think it is very relevant to the public debate whether he embraces William Ayers' view on education, not bombing the Capitol, not bombing the Pentagon, but believing that the goal of federal education dollars, or in this case charitable dollars, is to radicalize students politically. I don't think that's an appropriate basis for federal education policy.
You know, it's very interesting that Robert Gibbs, we interview controversial people all the time, people that I vehemently disagree with, including him. But I want to look at the bigger picture, because I agree with you. I think this should have come up tonight, especially in light of the New York Times bringing the story up on Saturday. So my question to you is, when we look at the big picture, there's 20 years in Reverend Wright's church. We've got Father Flager, a long-term relationship. He goes to the Million Man March. He's the attorney for ACORN, and then we've got a guy that bombed the Pentagon, Capitol, New York City Police Headquarters, and we see the relationship's much deeper than originally planned. There's a history of radicalism. But
I also forgot to mention this when Alan was interviewing me. In our last interview on Ayers, he pointed out that nobody was killed in the Capitol bombing or the Pentagon bombing. But in the Brinks robbery, 2 policemen were killed, and Boudin, Ayers' wife, went to prison in connection with those murders. Let me say this about the debate and Ayers. I think McCain made a mistake, a big one, in not raising the Ayers issue. How do you make an issue of the fact that of Obama's intimate connections with this kind of radical policy and this kind of radical orientation and not raise it in a debate? It's like the New York Times not covering it on page 1. If you think it's that important, bring it up.
But let me ask you this,
and
I wanted it to come up as well, and I actually anticipated it would come up, but it didn't. But here's the, I guess, the format Karl Rove pointed out, and he may be right about this, didn't lend itself in terms of the questioning. Does that mean that this is something that must come up in the final debate?
Well, for example, when Obama said one of my priorities is education, McCain's answer could have been education, and then he goes off on that whole thing. I think he could have really taken over the debate with that. But